live today. And Bernie, happy National Wiffle Ball Day because apparently today, August 14th, is National Wiffle Ball Day. I didn't know that, but the Baseball Hall of Fame tweeted that out today, and I was not aware of it until then. Oh, hell yeah! And then we used to cork the bats too. We used to stuff like newspaper and rubber balls inside the end of the bat, tape them up, and give you a little extra pop. But well, no, I stopped doing that when I was 14. So Bernie, yeah, my God, I miss wiffle ball. There was a growing up in Granite City, place that my dad worked at, sort of on the outskirts of town. The guy who owned the place had the owned the field next to it and built a really cool wiffle ball stadium, and it was there for a long time. And I remember thinking, man, I want to play there. I want to play. I would love to play in a wiffle ball park like that. But anyway, yeah, I miss wiffle ball. It's a great game, invented in 1953. So August 14th is considered National Wiffle Ball Day. So celebrate however you like. We didn't get to celebrate much last night, Bernie. With the Cardinals blowing it, JoJo Romero had a rough ninth inning, and he coughs up a lead, and the Cardinals end up losing a series to the Rockies, which is, well, you're not supposed to do that, not against a team like that. I know that we've sort of, for a lot of people, they've, I said this a moment ago, they have punted on the 2025 season, looking ahead to next year, and I think that is the logical thing to do with this team, but it still does not mean that you can't get a little irritated with games like last night.
I mean, for the Cardinals, in a matter of 2 or 3, and to lose 4 out of the 6 games in the season series, it's pretty indefensible. Because I listen, you're going to lose to bad teams from time to time. Last year, Chris, the Cardinals lost a series at home to the White Sox. It's going to happen. But to win 2 series, to lose
Oh, you know what?
in a row to the Rockies,
That computer needs to be on to get the sound on the YouTube.
And in both instances, they had a chance to win the series. I think.
Because the audio comes from there.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's been a I don't want to. It's not a nonsensical season, but it is one that just doesn't. I guess if you look at it, doesn't make a ton of sense because they had played for a long time. They played well against the good competition, like you mentioned. I know the Cubs are in a bit of a free fall, but they played well against them in the last series. They played well against the Dodgers. And then you have a series like this, which does happen. Sometimes good teams have bad series against bad teams, but you still don't want to see it. And now I'm looking at the wild card race, and I can't help but do it. They're 4 games out today. Somehow the Reds are 3 games in front of them. The Reds are right now a game out of the wild card spot. And while we know what the intent of the front office is, and that is look ahead, plan ahead to 2026 and beyond that, I still have a difficult time not looking at the standings and not thinking, hey, maybe we'll see what happens in the final 6 weeks here. Maybe they surprise us.
far from being a perfect team, but it's a capable team. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Reds ought to be embarrassed that they finished behind the Cardinals, because the Reds went out and spent a lot of money to bring Tito Francona in, who's a Hall of Fame manager, among other things. So we'll see what happens. But I just think the Cardinals are kind of destined to, get hot for a week and then kind of fall apart for a week and then just sort of repeat the cycle again. Consistency is the huge challenge, and they have been failing that test for quite a while now.
Look, logic will tell you that that's the likelihood for the rest of the season. I know it, but there's that fan in me that still thinks, who knows? Maybe they surprise us. And I know people keep pointing to, a few people point to 2011 and say, look at them. End of August, they were 10.5 out. These teams are completely different.
Yeah, I would say
that team was a whole lot better.
I would say so. When you have a team that's anchored by Pujols, Molina, Chris Carpenter, and I could name some others and go on and on and on. Yeah, that's a different animal right there.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, with that team, you could just say to yourself, look at the talent on this team. And David Freese was really good that year, and not, he was great in the postseason, but he was really good once he got back from injury during 2011. They had a lot of talent on that team.
Right.
And so I remember thinking, look, this is disappointing, but we know that they're legitimately capable of doing much better than this. And as it turned out, they did. And they barely got into the playoffs, but they did get in. And once you get in the playoffs, they had the kind of pieces you need to go on a run. And that's exactly what happened.
So they've got 40 games left to go this season, Bernie. And, as we've mentioned a million times, it's about looking ahead. It's about trying to figure out 2026. What questions for you as you look at them? And, again, 6 weeks it's not nothing, but it's also not a ton of time either. So I think that we probably know about some of these players, some of the young players, and what they might want to do. What questions for you are still unanswered that they have to figure out before the end of September?
Well, that's a really great question. I think the hitters that they have, the position players that they have, I think the die has been cast for the most part. Burleson has stepped it up. Brendan Donovan is Brendan Donovan. When Nootbaar can play, and the more he plays, the better he is, generally speaking, but he gets too many injuries. Contreras is good. Herrera has been disappointing lately. I want to see that. I want to see him hitting with authority the last couple months. And, it still very much comes down to where we started. I mean, the questions before the season, it's like, okay, runway season, long runways for Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman. And I do think that that's still probably top of the list because, frankly, if you look at the starting rotation, I don't really have any questions there in terms of between now and the end of the season. I'm not talking about going into next year. You have Sonny Gray, Matthew Liberatore's iffy. Palante is one good start, one bad start, two bad starts, one good start. You never know what's going to happen. And we like Michael McGreevy, and he hasn't done anything to dispel my enthusiasm for him as being a back of your rotation starter. He would be miscast as a number 1 or 2 or even a 3 starter.
Right.
But you can do a lot worse than have Michael McGreevy as your 5th starter. So I don't know that there's a lot to sort out. I think Marmol's got the tough job because he's got to sort out at bats for these guys. But I think the way Gorman hits and the way Walker hits might shape Chaim Bloom's thinking in the offseason, especially Gorman, because he's going to have to move a left-handed hitter or 2 this offseason. He's just going to have to do it. So that part of it, what we see between now and the end of the regular season, could very much influence his approach when he starts to wheel and deal this coming off season.
Yeah, and he's going to have to be, or at least I think we hope he'll be fairly aggressive, but not necessarily in an acquisition kind of way, because this isn't the kind of team that has a bunch of pieces in place and all you need is 1 or 2 and they are set to go. That's not who the 2026 Cardinals are going to be. Because I think we all sort of figured that this might take a little time here. And especially if you factor in a lockout, which seems to be probable at this point, I mean, we're talking about a couple of years before the Cardinals are truly competitive, I think.
You know, it might even be a little longer than that because I want to be a realist about it. It's not being negative. I just want to kind of be realistic about it because, listen, Bill DeWitt has owned this franchise for 30 years now, and the baseball for the most part. I know there's deniers out there that, like they'll actually try to say, what have they done? That kind of thing, because all they can remember is what happened 15 minutes ago. But this has been one of the most extraordinary runs of success in the history of a great franchise. And they've gone 30 years, and this is the first time under Bill DeWitt where I look at the team and I say, well, they got to rebuild.
Yeah.
I mean, rebuilding was never talked about. And this is the first time. I don't know how many franchise can go 30 years without management even considering a rebuild. And when I say a rebuild, I'm not talking about blowing everything up. The Cardinals have some talent to work with. But I also know they're going to have to offload some of that talent to get what I think Chaim Bloom wants, is to find a way to get some young starting pitching in here, cost-controlled starting pitching, and maybe a right-handed bat. But in my opinion, Chris, this was the start of the rebuild. It was the start of the rebuild in 2025 because the payroll went down. That's the sign of a rebuild. They only signed one free agent to a $2 million contract. That's the sign of a rebuild. They tell the fans, well, we're going to play our young players. That's a sign of a rebuild. Oh, we're going to fix our minor league system because we got to develop players better. That's the sign of a rebuild. They could, and by the way, when I talk about rebuild, it's not a dirty word to me. It's not a criticism.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And so, in other words, the Cardinals were doing everything that a rebuilding team does this year, except they didn't call it a rebuild. But if we're going to be, just totally honest about this, it's definitely was step one in a rebuilding phase.
And I think it's okay. I know this front office has been really reluctant to use that term and reluctant to do it, right? Because they've always felt like they can be competitive, but things are different now. And right. I'm encouraged that they have recognized it. And I'm hoping that moving forward, this means that it looks like they're trying to address it and bringing in Bloom. This is somebody who's been very good at doing that. And they're not one of the best farm systems in baseball. In fact, they're one of the least talented systems in baseball right now. By the way, Baseball America just put out their rankings of the top farm systems in the game. And the number one team is the Brewers. So this feels, it feels like Milwaukee has all this momentum and they have a strong foundation. So the Cardinals have a lot of catch up to play here over the next couple of years.
And it really does start with player development, which was always the pride and joy of Bill DeWitt anyway, but they kind of let it slip and now they're paying the price for it. Chaim Bloom's a really smart guy. He's a really, really smart guy. And I think you look at the Boston Red Sox this year, they've risen into prominence as a contender. They're 10 games over 500. There are traces of Chaim Bloom all over that roster, even though they fired him, because he took a farm system that when they hired him, the owner said, your number one job to do, our farm system is broken and we want to have a great farm system again. By the time he was fired, they went from the 30th farm system to the 10th. And then after he left, when more and more of his little baby draft picks started to mature.
Yeah.
They reached they were ranked number one soon after he left. He took the worst farm system and made it the best. And, I hate to be obnoxious, but it's why I kind of laugh at these people that say, well, why would they hire him? He got fired. He did exactly what he was told to do, including trade Mookie Betts after Mookie Betts declined to re-sign because he wanted to go to free agency. And then they even made it worse. And so people, well, he didn't get enough for Mookie Betts. Well, John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox, said, oh yeah, by the way, any team you make a deal with for Mookie Betts, they have to take David Price and his $48 million remaining contract. And David Price was toast by then, right? So, yeah, good luck with that trade. Yeah, you're really going to clean up, aren't you? So, Chaim Bloom draft picks also were used by the Red Sox to get Garrett Crotchet in a trade. That trade doesn't
Oh,
happen without the guys drafted by Chaim Bloom.
Yeah.
That's who I want leading this charge.
Yeah, I feel confident in it, and it's about how ownership supports him moving forward. I think it's, but they've got to fix the minor league system. It's relatively low cost to do that. You have to stock up in the minors. You have to.
Right.
Just got to get better talent down there. So
and Chaim Bloom and Bill DeWitt are 100% aligned philosophically.
Yep.
And so I think it'll be a great relationship because they believe in the same things, and they will spend money when it's time to spend money. A rebuild is not time to spend money. That's just the reality.
Bernie Miklasz, I'm Chris Ranji. It is the Gashouse Gang, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and by Anderson Hospital. We're going to talk a little college football today. Dennis Dodd, formerly with CBS, college football insider, he is going to join the show. Both the Fighting Illini ranked. They come in preseason ranked right there about number 12. Mizzou is receiving votes, so they're just outside the top 25, but both programs look to be pretty good going into the season. So we'll talk to Dennis Dodd about that. Got Bernie with me, and we want to hear from you too. Feel free if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or we're having some issues with Facebook streaming, Twitter, you can leave a message or a comment, and we'll try to get to some of those today on the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Hey, Illinois, this is Ben Barnett, board-certified master arborist and owner at Timberline Professional Tree Care. Sorry, St. Louis, this message is for our friends in the Metro East. Did you know that most Missouri-based tree contractors can't legally travel into Illinois? This is due to federal motor carrier regulations that require large trucks and their drivers to be registered with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration in order to travel across state lines. Almost all other tree services in Missouri fail to meet the requirements for safety, drug and alcohol testing, and equipment maintenance that are required for interstate travel. Here at Timberline, we meet and exceed all of these requirements and will be glad to travel across the river to meet all of your tree care needs. Call us today at 636-479-7475 for tree fertilization, pruning, insect and disease treatment, or complete removal. Or visit our website at stltreecare.com. That's stltreecare.com for service in the Metro East area.
This Labor Day weekend, we're celebrating Bob's Discount Furniture's 200th store milestone with the entire Bob's family across the country. For more than 30 years, we've believed everyone deserves the home they love. That's why we brought our everyday low prices on furniture, mattresses, and more to over 200 locations from coast to coast and counting. Not to mention free treats for the whole family in our cafes. Celebrate Bob's Discount Furniture's 200 store milestone this Labor Day weekend. Oh, my Bob!
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Named one of Newsweek's world's best hospitals for 2025, Anderson Hospital is your hospital for life, delivering exceptional, compassionate care to families across the Metro East. From emergency services to specialized treatments, our dedicated team supports your health at every stage. Experience world-class care close to home. Discover the difference at andersonhospital.org.
KMOX is now on 104.1 FM, the same great station with even better sound.
And a dangerous pitch here to a home run hitter on 3-1. The 3-1 for Goodman. A swing and a high fly ball, deep center field. Back goes Scott. He's at the wall. It's gone. A 2-run homer and the Rockies lead 6-5.
Cardinals let that one slip away in the ninth inning last night. They dropped 2 of 3 from the Rockies, or to the Rockies, and enjoy the off day today. Tomorrow, it'll be the New York Yankees in town to face the Cardinals. So that'll still be a fun series. You got the Yankees coming in. They always draw a crowd, no matter what. New York does. It's one of those, like, it feels like a traveling road show. No matter how good the Yankees are, they always have a contingency of people. There are always crowds of people around the Yankees dugout prior to the game, trying to get autographs, trying to get a look at those players. That is a thing, man. I mean, the Cardinals have a huge following around the country, but that Yankees thing, that is something. It's like Manchester United coming through town.
No, that's a great analogy, man. And the thing of it is, I think it still matters, even with TV and through various forms. You can watch every team. You never have to go without watching any team you want. But if there's still something special about going to the ballpark to see like one of the 2 or 3 greatest players of his time as far as what he does, and I'm talking about Aaron Judge, just a chance to take your kids to the ballpark just to see Aaron Judge. I mean, that makes it a showcase right there. Paul Goldschmidt, it's interesting because although I think he will be on the trip, there's a chance he won't play. He's got a slight knee sprain the other night, and he woke up yesterday and it was pretty bad, and he's getting better, but he might have to go in the IL. So his status is up in the air, but I hope he's on the trip because I would love to see him greet Cardinals fans and them to greet him back and give him a very outstanding ovation. Class guy, 2022 MVP, and so much to admire about Paul Goldschmidt.
Just in terms of what the Cardinals did and how they operated, just going back 5 or so years, when they acquired Goldschmidt and then subsequently got Arenado, I think all of us were on board with doing that. It felt like the right thing to do. It felt like maybe there was still some room for them to go even a little further, which they did not. But I don't think, just in hindsight, Bernie, even though it did not end up in extended playoff runs, that was the right thing to do for them, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Because first of all, with Goldschmidt, he made it clear, not publicly, but to the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks said, if you want to be traded, listen, we respect you. We'll try to honor your wishes because you're a class guy and we appreciate everything. And he said he really wanted to go to the Cardinals. So they made a trade with the Cardinals. And listen, the Cardinals did give up, Luke Weaver and Carson Kelly, but at the time they were not anywhere near their plans. So, that in effect, at that time, they didn't give up anything of any kind of importance to get Goldie. It was a great trade. And he signed a contract extension that was very reasonable for the Cardinals. And he was the MVP in 2022. And with Nolan Arenado, first of all, the Cardinals had to give up nothing in return, all due respect to Austin Gomber. And then Bill DeWitt negotiated the financial part with the Rockies ownership. And then Bill DeWitt got the Rockies to pay the Cardinals $51 million to defray the cost of Arenado's contract. So no, they were the proverbial no-brainer trades. Now the only problem, is Arenado. He just got old fast. It just happened all of a sudden. Goldie was really, really good up until last year when maybe the age-related decline started to kick in a really noticeable way. But it was great having them there. The problem was the whole time they were there, Chris, and I'm talking about the years they played together, 21 through 24. The Cardinals the whole time were chasing pitching, starting pitching, chasing starting pitching, chasing starting pitching. I mean, every single year. And I think that really held them back. And I also have to say that, listen, they were great up until, Arenado's in decline. We know that. But I mean, for the couple, 3 years, those guys together were great. But the one thing they didn't do when they had the chance to make a difference in the postseason, other than Goldie hitting very well when they beat Atlanta in 2019, those two as a tandem from 21-22, when they were in 2 postseasons, 21-22, they didn't get it done. They didn't do anything at the plate. So,
and you know what, that does happen, but it doesn't mean you don't want. I think about this with Alex Rodriguez. Remember, the thing about him was he disappeared in the playoffs, and he had, I think it was 2009. He was really good. But you will take your chances with a great player in the postseason. And if they don't show up, to me, that's a fluke. That's not this guy's not clutch. To me, it happens. And you want Paul Goldschmidt, you want A-Rod, you want guys like that when you get to the playoffs, because it decreases your need, it decreases the margin of error. because those guys are probably going to be good. They're probably going to be what they were during the regular season. Not guaranteed because we're talking about a short sample, but you want stars when you get to the playoffs. And it just so happened that in those two cases, it didn't work out for the Cardinals. Doesn't mean it was wrong to have them. It just didn't work out.
They remember how hot the Cardinals were in 2021? Would they win 17, 18
Something
in a row?
like that, yeah.
They were great. And they went into but all they could get out of it was a wild card game. And it went into, it was a one-run game. The Cardinals had about, I'm exaggerating, had about 30 at-bats with runners in scoring position against the Dodgers and couldn't get a big hit. And then the 2022 team was classic. MVP, third place in the vote would be Arenado. Goldie wins the MVP. Pujols with a dream season, a fantasy farewell season. Same with Molina. And they had game one in the bag just about in the playoffs. So Ryan Helsley imploded in the ninth inning. I thought Ali was a little slow to react. And that went away because once the Phillies won that first game in, I think it kind of broke the Cardinals. So, yeah, it was a shame because there was so much potential there for both of those teams to make a run in the postseason, but it didn't happen.
It's tough to imagine, but we are, a little over a week away from college football starting, actual games that actually matter. And the Fighting Illini look to have a pretty good season. At least that's what the rankings tell us. Mizzou might be pretty good as well. We're going to talk about the college football season coming up with Dennis Dodd, Football Insider. He joins the show next. It is the Gashouse Gang, Bernie Miklasz and Chris Ranji. It is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and by Anderson Hospital on 104.1 FM KMOX.
The Dave Glover Show.
If you sit down with me and we talk about who I am, what I am, my values, political, voting record, you're never going to walk away and go, that guy's a bleeding heart progressive. I'm just not stupid. And I just don't take bait. And I just don't do things because you tell me to, or that I'm afraid that if I don't, fall in line or get on the bandwagon, people aren't going to like me. Been there, done that for years.
The Dave Glover Show, now on FM, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It is 86 degrees and cloudy. The AccuWeather Real Feel in St. Louis is 103 right now. The weather brought to you by Chesterfield Fence and Deck, your premier provider of fences, decks, patios, sunrooms, and more. Call them for a free estimate today. Now offering 20% off your next outdoor project. Chesterfield Fence and Deck.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
Just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, did you just have your house painted? Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, no, it's actually Rhino Shield.
877-25rhino.com.
An important message from S&L Coins. S&L Coins pays top dollar for your gold and silver coins, old currency, gold-filled jewelry, scrap gold and silver, silver plating, gold and silver bullion. Get a quote with a call to S&L at 544-3600. S&L Coins, 544-3600. Or visit S&L Coins at 9300 Gravois, just east of McKenzie. Open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 Saturday. Before you sell, call S&L 544-3600.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Every year, almost 30,000 babies in America are born with birth injuries. It's every parent's worst nightmare. If your child suffered a birth injury, please call our firm to find out if we can help.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Cards manager Ollie Marmol joins the Gashouse Gang every Tuesday at noon. Sponsored by Siteman Cancer Center on the voice of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
It is the Gashouse Gang. Bernie Miklasz, Chris Ranji today, and we have spent some time talking Cardinals baseball. We'll get back to that in just a little bit. Want to hear your comments, questions before the end of the show today. And YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, if you're watching, you can do that. You can also text in 314-436-7900, and we'll talk some Birds baseball again. But right now, we want to take a break from that because the college football season starts very, very soon. August 23rd. That is when the first games will be played of the 2025 season. And joining us now, college football insider, formerly with CBS Sports, a national college football columnist. It is Dennis Dodd joining the show today. Dennis, it's great to talk to you again. How are you doing?
Chris, Bernie, how are you guys? Post-retirement, first interview, so I'm ready to go.
Oh,
well,
it's huge.
My goodness, Dennis, it's great to talk to you, man, and congratulations on retiring. And although and I know you're not going to stay retired, but anyway, it's beautiful to have you on.
I'm still active, but just not. I'm doing things at my pace. How about that? No deadline. Just writing.
That's a good way to do. Yeah, that's the way. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm retired, except I have more jobs than I've ever had. So anyway, hey Dennis, I don't know where to start in terms of the local scene, but since you're a Mizzou alum, let's start with Mizzou. But we want to talk to you about Illinois because it could be a really exciting season for the Illini. But Mizzou didn't make either one of the top 25 preseason polls. I don't get really stressed out about that, but I do think to an extent maybe they're taken for granted a little bit. But what questions do you have about Mizzou, and what do you think it's going to take for them to get to 10 wins again for the third year in a row?
Yeah, you got to start with the schedule because it's so unique. I can't think of a team, I'm sure there's been one, that has played the first 6 games at home with a bye built in. I think that bye's before the Alabama game. So they've got a chance to go 5-1. If they get lucky or play well against Alabama, that's 6-0. The problem is the second half, where obviously they've got to play some road games. At Auburn, at Vandy, home against Texas A&M, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. So that's kind of got 1-4 written all over it. But I'll throw a big old blanket over both Illinois and Missouri by saying they've got the profile of Indiana last year in that the playoffs bigger. There's a spot for them, and it's more about who they don't play more than who they do play that gives them a shot. Both teams come off 10-win seasons. Illinois does not play Michigan, Oregon, or Penn State. They get USC and Ohio State at home, which is huge. Missouri does not play. I think it's LSU. No, I'm sorry, Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Tennessee. So that's pretty good. So if they get hot, but they're going to be in the playoff. But you're right about Missouri. I don't know why Missouri wasn't ranked. I would have ranked them, but since the beginning of the 2016 season, just a fun fact, it's trivia more than anything else. Missouri's only been ranked in the preseason twice in AP. So take that, make that what you will.
And Mizzou, I suppose their biggest storyline this camp is about the quarterback that they haven't yet determined who it's going to be. They've got a competition that's going on. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Bo Pribula play the last couple of years at Penn State, and he was a really effective change of pace because of his leg. He was enticing. When he went to Mizzou, he was like, okay, all right, I see that. You can see it. But he still has to win the job. And everything I see out of Missouri is that it's neck and neck. And I think they have a scrimmage on Saturday. We may get some resolution there. They're going to have to. With Sam Horn, who can, I guess, throw 100 in baseball, but hasn't thrown for 100 yards in a college football game yet. I'd like to see that. So it goes back to that old saying, you've either got one quarterback or no quarterbacks. I happen to think Missouri's got 2 really good quarterbacks. They just can't separate themselves because they're 2 different players. Sam Horn, I think, is the better athlete, obviously, because of what I just told you. But Pribula his running skills are unique. Now, how that translates to the SEC versus spot taking 10 snaps or 6 snaps in the Big Ten. I can't tell you. But I think once they get things in place, they'll be okay at running back, at quarterback.
I'm looking forward to it. And I'm kind of like Switzerland, Dennis, when it comes to Mizzou and Illinois, because I like the Fighting Illini too. And I was really excited when they hired Coach Bielema, and he's building a hell of a program there. So they're loaded on defense. Luke Altmaier is a really good quarterback. I don't know if they're really explosive in terms of having the receivers that can make big plays, but how does Illinois navigate what could be a very great season for themselves? Is it going to be power football, or will there be some flash and dash in that offense as well?
I think it's definitely going to be power football and physical football, but Luke Altmaier gives that offense a chance to make big plays down the field. I think that's the difference in this offense. The fact that he came back was huge. I say that because I think that's an advantage these days. If you're paying attention the last 2 or 3 years, the Big Ten is now the best conference in the country, and I would dare say it may not even be close. The SEC has missed. They haven't been in the national championship game in consecutive years for the first time in 20 years since Texas USC in 2005. So, and what has happened? 2 very physical teams, Michigan especially, under Jim Harbaugh won it 2 years ago, and then Ohio State got up completely off the mat after the loss to Michigan and won it all. So I think if you're a physical team in the Big Ten, you're in the playoff discussion. I don't see that as a drawback at all. You're right about the defense. Gabe Akis is the outside linebacker, needs 8 sacks to move behind in second place behind Simeon Rice, who we all know is a great player at Illinois for sacks, career sacks. And they got this 2-time All Big Ten guy, Xavier Scott, in there as well. So I think the running back is going to be by committee, or at least what I see, like 3 or 4 guys, and that's okay as well. So I think Brett Bielema, classic, big, physical, built in both lines, is a great thing for Illini right now.
Yeah, and Illinois comes into the season ranked 12. It is the first time in 17 years that they've had a preseason top 25 ranking, and they are returning a ton of starters from last season. So how much of this preseason ranking is that the fact that they are an experienced team?
Boy, I don't know how to read starters anymore just because of the transfer portal, but I do know that 16 is a lot. Arizona State has 17 if you count their punter, and that's the most in the country. So depending on who you follow, Illinois is at least tied for having the most starters back in the country. That means something. I don't put a lot in it usually, but again, when you have to remake your roster every year because of the portal most of the time, Brett Bielema is doing something right there at Illinois to keep those players around and develop and get continuity. That's what all these coaches want. They kill for developmental programs and continuity. But sometimes you're forced into that situation where you got to go get a guy. You got to go get a quarterback. Missouri had to go get a quarterback who hasn't won the job yet. He might, but he hasn't yet.
Dennis, got to ask you, Dennis Dodd is with us a long time, just one of the great college football writers in modern times, and long time at CBS Sports. He's now in, I'm going to just say semi-retirement, but native St. Louis. And for those of you who don't know, Dennis, got to ask you a big picture question. I don't even know which one to ask you because the terrain, the landscape of college football, it seems like it changes every other day. I can't even keep up with it. I just want the games to start. I'm one of those guys. What concerns you about the state of college football, and what would you change if you could?
The lack of leadership concerns me, and it's nothing new. Everybody's in their own corner, fighting for their own conference, for what's best for them, for the most money. It screams of a central entity to own and run it, to have a commissioner run it. Now the result of this House settlement, there is, I guess you'd call an executive director that's going to oversee enforcement of the House settlement, Brian Seeley from Major League Baseball. But that's not the same thing. They're going to penalize teams for going over the red share cap. I think, look, the big picture is I think we in the last 4 years, we've lived what college football is going to be. Players are being paid. They're going to be paid more now. It's now for the first time sanctioned play for pay. I don't care what anybody calls it, $20 million per team in revenue sharing. It's pay for play. That's all it is. And being at the games, my takeaway was Saturdays still matter. Nobody's talking about how much money Luke Altmaier makes or how much money Brady Cook makes. They want to just see the damn team win. So whichever way this thing goes, whether the White House gets involved, whether it's collective bargaining, which I personally believe is the best way to go, because then the only persons that don't have a seat at the table through this whole discussion is the players. And that's almost understandable and really hard because they are a pass-through. They only stay at the least 3 years, maybe 4. So it's hard to build continuity and leadership, but it can be done. But I think we've already lived it. And I think the public has responded. Attendance was up last year, again, slightly, but up. That all this other stuff doesn't matter. And me stepping away a little bit, my eyes glaze over during the summer with all this stuff. I just want to see.
And also part of the discussion has to be now betting, sports betting, which is becoming more and more prominent. It's going to be legal here in Missouri by December, which I am in favor of that. I think it is overall a good thing. But then you have this situation like with the Oklahoma quarterback, John Mateer, who's been accused of gambling. And he says he wasn't. It was a Venmo post, and it was an inside joke between he and friends, and it looked like he might have been betting on sports. So how much of a problem is this?
It's a big problem to the point that when you've got, look, we are already seeing problems in the NBA. I think there's been several players that have been penalized. When you see multimillionaires in the NBA getting in trouble with, betting, what for them is disposable income, we know it's going to be an issue. The problem with the issue with the pros was always like, well, they make too much money to even do this thing. Well, no, they don't. There's so many avenues to bet. And I had a couple of years ago, I had an individual in Las Vegas. Matt Holt used to run an integrity service in Vegas, to look over this very thing. And he was employed as a consultant by at that time, all 5 Power 5 conferences. And he turned his screen around for me and showed me on a random Monday night game that there were 3,000 possible prop bets. And that really disturbs the NCAA. Look, I'm not going to apologize for them. They're rights holders, and openly advertise with FanDuel and these betting services all over the country. They're accepting advertising from them. But Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, is really upset about that because it has led to players and coaches being harassed online and further when the prop doesn't hit. And I'll just leave you with a quick story. 2 years ago, a team at the College World Series was protected. A police presence was called in to protect the team after a threat. Charlie Baker wouldn't tell me the team, but this was in Omaha. And somebody somewhere didn't pay off on a prop bet, and this team was threatened.
Well, that's not great. So there are a lot of complications that go along with it for sure. Dennis Dodd, appreciate your coverage again, even though you're semi-retired. I know we can count on you anyway. So it's kind of, it's kind of like having a going to Walmart and being a greeter, but you're doing it with college football. You're still working.
Yeah, I'm not quite at that stage yet, but
no.
I get
Dennis, good to talk to you.
The
Thank
best,
you.
man. The best. Love him. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks.
That is Dennis Dodd. Awesome. Covers college football, has for years, and you've read him and seen him CBS Sports. Bernie, as we hit the break, why don't we tell the people a little bit about our friends at Saliga?
My pleasure. The Saliga family's been taking care of generations of St. Louisans since 1927. I mean, we're coming up on 100 years, and the same family, the Saligas, 4 generations of them, have been making sure St. Louis families are nice and warm in the winter and nice and cool in the blazing summer. And the Mickleses have been calling Saliga Heating and Cooling for the last 16 or 17 years, and I can vouch for them across the board. this Daikin Comfort dealer in terms of their honesty, 100%, their integrity, 100%, professionalism, knowledge, 100%, reliability, prompt service, 100% when they come into your home, totally classy. And you never have to worry about anything. They're going to take care of you. And the one thing I think maybe there would be a concern about just in general, I know I used to be like this before we started to deal with Saliga. You know, you have a problem. There's something's not right. And you're thinking, oh, this is going to be an expensive repair. And with Saliga, you never have to worry about them coming in and trying to take advantage of you in terms of talking you into something, pressuring you into something, knowing that you're not as smart as they are about exactly what's going on. So they can try to use that to their advantage and recommend, hey, no, we're going to have to install this. And it's like really expensive. In our experience, it's the exact opposite. They have found ways to save us money time and time again. So that's why I say 100% trust factor with Saliga Heating and Cooling. And along the lines of what I just said quickly, they have a priority club. It's a maintenance plan that's going to save you money by extending the life of your current equipment. You also get priority scheduling and have the comfort of knowing your home is safe and ready for all 4 seasons. Find out more about that and everything at SaligaHeatingandCooling.com by going to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thanks.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house, on the walls, the patios, the walkways, the porch, or the chimneys? If so, you need to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. 314-645-1387. You might need one of 2 things: solid tuck pointing, the removal of old mortar with the replacement of new mortar throughout an entire wall or chimney, or maybe just spot tuck pointing. Spot tuck pointing involves the tuck pointing of a particular wall, a chimney, or other masonry surface in an area where it's needed the most. One example might be settlement cracks, usually found above or below windows or doorways. 314-645-1387. Call the company that the Brennans have called when we've needed tuck pointing. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialists. Winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award every year since 2005. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
The Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight, how an innovative immunotherapy is showing promise against aggressive T-cell cancers. Joining us is Dr. John DiPersio.
Until very recently, until this paper and a few other groups in the world have sort of developed approaches for T-cell malignancies, there was no hope for patients who relapsed. There were no effective therapies. This is a way of treating these patients that would normally have no other recourse.
For more information, visit siteman.wustl.edu.
We can get more sleep, we can get more sun, and we can get more exercise, but the one thing we can't get more of is time. It's time to eliminate the one phrase that could be holding you back from reaching your retirement goals. I'll take care of it tomorrow. It's time to pick up the phone and make the call to Gary Goldberg and the team at Financial and Tax Strategies, 314-991-9005, or online at checkwithgary.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Centaurus Financial, Inc., an FFC registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Gary Goldberg, NPN number 918-615.
It doesn't take a lot to make a big difference.
That's why we've teamed up with Jerry Kelly Heating and Cooling to bring you 100 acts of kindness.
For the next 6 months, the Chris and Amy Show is challenging you to spread kindness in simple, meaningful ways. No big budget needed.
Write a thank you note, help a neighbor, surprise someone with a smile. It all counts.
Let's prove that kindness is contagious. Share your acts with us by using hashtag 100KindActs.
Because a little kindness goes a long way.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friend Mark Cantor at Cantor Injury Law. So as you know, I'm a lawyer, so I take this very seriously. Mark is a great attorney. He has a great team. He is from St. Louis. He is local. Call 314-628-9999 or visit CantorInjuryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
We started Neovitin because we wanted to create a multivitamin for ourselves. That's why we focus on quality ingredients and formulas with our multivitamins. Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins are formulated with over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our 4-ingredient physician-formulated proprietary blend for the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins a try for yourself. Find them at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
Cardinal Cowboy here. After proving the doctors wrong following my accident, I got back to baseball, started kicking field goals, and finally got paid as a pro kicker and ultimately became a leader in the marketing world. That's why I trust Renner Garage Door, exceeding expectations for over 65 years. They service, sell, and install top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster. Get your free quote today. Check them out at RennerDoorSTL.com. Renner, forward and back. Giddy up!
RENNER, RENNER. Now back to the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling and by Anderson Hospital on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Just about a minute to go here. Bernie Miklasz, Chris Ranji on the Gashouse Gang. No Cardinals baseball today because they are off. They will be back tomorrow against the Yankees. Andre Palante is starting in the game tomorrow against New York at Busch Stadium. What are your thoughts on Andre's season? I know we were sort of talking about one good start, one bad start, a couple of good starts, a bad start. I mean, for you, does he factor in the rotation for next season?
You know, this will sound mean, and I swear I'm not trying to be like that. But for the Cardinals, they're going to have to strengthen their starting rotation, even while rebuilding. And there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to project into their rotation next year at some point. Quinn Matthews, maybe even Liam Doyle. I think Andre Palante is kind of a fringe guy because, he doesn't miss bats. The ball's always in play. He goes against what Chaim Bloom and his new people want, which is more strikeout power. And so I think he's very much on the fringe. And, here's the part where I sound mean and I don't want to. But if he's in your rotation, that tells me they haven't made much progress, if any progress, on the starting pitching front.
Yep.
I don't think that's a good sign.
No, they got a lot of work to do in that area. The roster, a lot of work during the offseason. Bernie Miklasz, good to do it with you. Enjoy it. We'll do this again. You're back on Tuesday, the Oliver Marmol Day. He's always with us on Tuesdays at noon. We'll see you back then.
Thank you, Chris. Always a pleasure to be with you.
You too, my friend. That is Bernie Miklasz. The Gashouse Gang does come back tomorrow, 12 o'clock. Matt Pauley, Mike Claiborne, me will be with you from 12 until 1. But coming up next, it is the Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Paid for by Action Matters. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data